Hey, Margie here. Today we're answering the question, do GLP-1 medications such as Ozempic increase bone and muscle loss? And we're also going to talk about weight loss, how we can effectively lose weight while improving our bone health. And I'm really excited about our special guest today, Dr. Irina Weil. And Dr. Weil is board certified in family medicine and integrative medicine. And she believes the key to wellness is to create a strong foundation that includes a delicate balance between nutrition, movement, and mind-body health. Her treatment approach includes incorporating nutrition, herbs, and supplements while optimizing a patient's foundational pillars of nutrition, movement, mental, emotional well-being. And Dr. Weil has been working for many years helping people successfully lose weight while improving their health. And I think this topic is so important for this community, and I'm just really excited. We go into the strategies that work, and I know you'll get your questions answered. So make sure to tune in. Welcome, Dr. Weil. I'm so happy we've been talking about having this interview for a while, so I'm so glad that we finally got it on the calendar and you're here.
Thank you again for inviting me. And I was super thrilled to run into you at the IHS conference and connect. And that's how it all got started in February.
Exactly. And it's what we're going to talk about today is so important because there are a lot of people who have extra weight and want to lose weight, but yet they are so worried about osteoporosis and bone loss. And how do you possibly combine the two? And I know you're going to give us so much great information. So I'm really excited about this. And I really think there's nobody better. You have such a good background and you've been working with people with weight loss for a long time effectively. So I'm really excited for this. But before we get into that whole discussion, there's something that's in the news that's constantly I'm asked for from all ages, not just people, who have osteoporosis, but is the GLP-1s and, the Ozempics and everything else. People are so worried because there's so much press about increasing muscle loss and bone loss. And people want to go on them, but are they going to have all these side effects, osteoporosis being one of them? So why don't we start with that very, very hot topic?
Yes, it is a great hot topic. It is one that also made me pause and nervous in prescribing and recommending the GLPs and made me do a really deep dive and pause and figure out which camp do I fall into and what would I like to recommend and tell my patients. So before I answer the question, I'd like to take a minute and explain what GLPs are. So GLPs are glucagon-like receptor 1 agonists. They are GLPs is a natural hormone that's made in our body, and it helps regulate the metabolism of sugar. So when we take them synthetically, they only work by decreasing the sugar that's in our body. So they will never actually make somebody hypoglycemic or decrease the sugar so much that they become sick from having low sugar. They also work by decreasing gastric emptying, which means that the food stays longer in your stomach and you don't need as much food to feel full. And then they work in the brain centrally by decreasing your appetite, decreasing your cravings for sugar, carbs, and alcohol. And overall, the literature has been robust in their other effects that we are just learning about: reducing inflammation, promoting mental health well-being. I'm hearing all sorts of positive stories of improvement in rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune conditions. It's incredibly fascinating, even though that's not the reason why they're a hot topic or on the market. So to go back to your original question, do they decrease bone mineral density and muscle mass? If done inappropriately or the wrong way, absolutely. When you take a medication that suppresses appetite, you run the risk of not eating enough calories. When you don't eat enough calories, you become in an anorexic state. Therefore, your body's going to use the muscle mass. It's going to lose muscle mass, and it's not going to promote good bone growth and bone remodeling. So done incorrectly and with the idea of just caloric restriction, yes, they absolutely can. However, the idea behind prescribing them is to give people a tool, another opportunity, and something else to help them meet their weight loss goals. It's the idea of, okay, maybe we don't need to start at the pharmaceutical recommended dosing. Let's start a little bit lower if we're using the compounded versions to give you just enough where you don't have that insatiable hunger. When you can like look at a donut and be like, I don't want it. Or when you can eat just enough to feel full. But at the same time, we have to make sure that the patient or whoever we're working with is prioritizing proper nutrition. So really focusing on a protein forward, fiber rich diet, dense in micronutrients. So calcium, vitamin D, boron, zinc, all those things that we need to promote healthy bone remodeling and bone formation, and the protein to maintain muscle mass, right? So if done properly, I think they're an amazing tool and adjunct to osteoporosis prevention, potential mitigation of further bone loss. So yes, I'm all for them. And I forgot to mention, actually, there are some studies that show they actually promote muscle formation by bringing amino acids to the muscle, so promoting more blood flow to the muscles. So it's amazing. And there are actually studies that do show, though modest, that they promote bone remodeling, which means promoting osteoblasts, the bone building cells, and decreasing the class, which are the bone reabsorption cells.
It really is exciting because so many of the things that it affects are risk factors for osteoporosis. You know, a lot of people, and I see this blood sugar as such a big issue, and it's really not looked at typically by a lot of doctors until it's diabetes. So this pre-diabetes insulin resistance that's starting that can affect our bones is not even really thought about sometimes until, oh, you have diabetes. And then we know that diabetes significantly affects our bones and all the inflammation. We know that inflammation breaks down bone. So the fact that we can reduce the bone breakdown is just so incredible. So what exactly do you tell your patients? So your patients who you decide to use this with, you want to just talk about how you choose to go on first?
Sure. It's never offered at the initial visit. It's not something that I promote in terms of publicly that come see me, I will prescribe you GLPs for weight loss. No, that's not how I work. I have to weed out or really risk stratify the patient. So when I first see a patient, we do a very intense assessment and we determine what their goals are. And I figure out, okay, what do we need to address first? If somebody has acute issues regarding inflammation, especially GI gut issues, there's no way I'm offering them GLPs, even if in my mind, I think they'd be a good candidate because we have to put out the fire first. I can't throw gasoline into the fire and expect the patient to do well if I don't set them up for success. So they need to embrace the lifestyle change portion, which is the foundational, that's the way I approach medicine in my patients. They know when they're coming to see me, I'm going to be asking them to do very hard things. They're going to need to change how they eat, think, and move as the foundation. We do testing. I prescribe a supplement protocol, herbal protocol. I use medications when necessary. Then I reassess. They usually make some nice strides. They usually lose weight. They feel happy and motivated. And then we see, okay, is it not enough? Are they getting frustrated? What are their challenges? Because some people, even though they follow exactly what I promote to a T, they're still struggling. They are struggling. metabolically resistance. They need some sort of assistance. And these GLPs are an amazing tool to give them that leg up in metabolic remodeling or reset, a metabolic reset, to really allow for the inflammation to go down, the glucose to go down, the insulin to go down, and getting them to their weight loss goals.
I just love that approach and that's sort of my approach to bone health as well. You can, unfortunately, there's no quick fix. And I think a lot of people feel this is the quick fix. I can take this and I don't have to do anything else, and I'll lose the weight and I'm going to look amazing and my blood sugar is going to be amazing. But you have such a good point. If you still have smoldering inflammation and you still have gut issues, you need to deal with those. And it's so very important. And so when you do this in the correct order, that's when everything gets better. And that's when your health becomes miraculous, right? Both your bones and your whole health.
Yes. Because you can't lose weight on these GLPs, keeping the same diet and lifestyle you have coming in. The problem is you're going to get that quote Ozempic face. It's going to be obvious. You're going to look emaciated. It's not healthy. And the worst part is, as soon as you come off, it's going to come back like gangbusters, and even worse because you've lost muscle mass. So you have more fat cells to fill up, and the whole look and body composition is even in a worse state than it was prior to the GLPs. And that's my biggest concern and fear, or that's why I take them so seriously and I prescribe cautiously, because I want the patient to be on board. Are they going to be committing to resistance training at least 2 to 3 times a week? Regular exercise? Are they going to be focusing on nutrition, protein forward, fiber-rich diet, hydration, all sleep, everything that we normally, quote, should be doing? Are they going to keep up with it or use this as an easy way to, quote, get to the number on the scale?
So when you see the patients, then you follow all these things. How often when someone is, let's say, you have a patient on this, how does that work? You're following them. It's not like they just come in one time. How does that?
Yeah. So usually I see them for the initial visit, and then I put them on a plan. We do testing. I put them on a plan to get them going. And then I see them in about 6 to 8 weeks as a check-in. Then we come up with a more comprehensive plan. And then I see them every 2 to 3 months when they're, quote, in active care or active treatment. Once they get to maintenance, could be every 6 months, 4 months. It depends. It also depends on my trust level with the patient. If I feel, and I trust most of my patients are incredible and they trust me. So when there's a trusting relationship, I don't need to micromanage them. I know they're doing the right things, and it's going to show in the blood work too, right? It's going to show in their face and how they feel. I have this incredible success story of this high-powered female exec who struggled with weight loss her entire life, PCOS, and she came to me. We tried all the things. It didn't work, and she's like, "Please, I really want to try this." And I said, "Sure, let's try it." She did. She's been on the GLPs for a year, and she said, "I'm never coming off." She's not only maintained muscle mass, she's gained muscle mass, and her whole life's changed. Everything, all aspects of her life changed. And it was one of the most rewarding patient cases experiences. And it's really been an honor to be part of her health journey.
How exciting is that? And it's wonderful when there is a new medication and used appropriately. That's
yes,
because this really can be misused, as it sounds.
Yes.
And doing the other pieces of the puzzle, I think, and on a good note of that is, so now you're taking these couch potatoes, right? And you're getting them into resistance training, all these other things that are going to be amazing for their bones and overall health as well. So I think that's so very important.
Can I share my kind of what I do before I delve into GLPs?
Yes. Oh, that was my next question. So actually, let's even go before we even go into that. I just wanted to hit this right away because I know I get so many questions, and I know you're truly an expert in this and have experience with this with your background. So I wanted to start there. But why don't we start in the beginning? Let's start with people. After menopause, weight loss is an issue. People have bellies and they just don't know what to do. But why is this? Let's start from the why. What challenges do you see that people, mostly women, I mean, men aren't post-menopause, but women post-menopause, what are you seeing? What are the biggest challenges that you help people with?
Yes. First, I want to say that I like to validate the women's experience. I feel there's a lot of healthcare trauma out there, and these poor women are just being told, eat less and move more. Well, unfortunately, it definitely does not work that way with menopause or perimenopause due to the hormonal changes. And that's science. It's not willpower. So to explain that, with the loss of estrogen, fat deposits differently. Instead of depositing in kind of evenly throughout our bodies, it now tends to deposit in our midsection. So these women say, I have this ring, a tire ring around my abdomen. I have no idea what happened. I haven't changed the way I eat. I still exercise the same amount. Why is this happening? The other reason that's happening really kind of further is with menopause, there's a loss of the luteal phase. So the luteal phase is the onset of ovulation to the first day of the period. So when women lose that, they lose basically 200 calories of burning without doing anything. So there's a 200 calories go. And so there's less basal metabolic energy expenditure. So your body's metabolism slows down. So obviously you're going to gain weight doing the same thing you are already doing. And lastly, with the change in hormones, there's more of craving for fatty foods, carb-rich foods, sugary foods. There's like this insatiable hunger, and it becomes a vicious cycle. And so women tend to prioritize less of protein and fiber-rich foods because they don't want it. It's not appealing to them. So they don't feel full and satiated as they would normally if that's how they would continue to eat. And then they crave the sugars, they gain weight, etc. So we have to recognize that and honor it, and then figure out how are we going to attack each one of those pathways and set these women up for success so that way they can age gracefully and happily and not have to go through this change, which could be really impactful to their daily life and relationships.
Okay, so let's get to step 2 then. So how do you overcome? You mentioned some of the things that you do. What do you do to, what are your key strategies, I guess, to overcoming and with your programs that you do?
So first, let's focus on maintaining your regular exercise. So 45 minutes at least 5 days a week, moderate intensity, because that's going to decrease insulin and leptin levels. That's key. That's going to promote a better carbohydrate metabolism. Everyone knows about insulin. Insulin is the storage hormone. If there's more insulin, there's more fat deposition, inflammation, etc. Leptin is a hormone that's produced by fat cells, and it signals to the brain that we are full. We don't need to eat more food. So one would think, oh, great, more leptin. That means I'm going to feel less hunger. Unfortunately, it does not work that way. The more fat cells you have, the more leptin you produce, the more leptin resistance there is. The signaling does not function that well. Therefore, it's counterproductive. So you want just the right amount. That's why decreasing leptin levels is so important. And then connecting that back to bone health, leptin in the right amount actually promotes bone remodeling. So healthy leptin levels mitigate osteoporosis or decrease bone loss, which is amazing. I learned that when I was preparing for this interview. But too much leptin promotes apoptosis or the die-off of precursor cells in the bone marrow that would eventually lead to like the osteoblasts. So that's kind of the background of why maintaining regular exercise to promote healthy insulin levels is so important in postmenopausal women, especially for weight and also bone health.
Can we dive into that a little more in terms of, from your perspective, what you have found with weight loss, a little more specifically?
Sure.
We'll think,
Yeah.
I'll just go out for a walk, or I'll just do this. So you want to just maybe give what you give your patients in terms of, more specifics. What do you want that 5 minutes to be?
So, so the 45, I don't go into the specifics of the 45 minutes. What I do is people need tangible. They can't just, it doesn't work nebulous or just exercise more, just eat more protein, eat more fiber. I don't do well with those recommendations, and I don't expect my patients to be successful in with those circumstances. So I work with a health coach that helps roll out a program that I recommend that focuses on intermittent fasting, carb cycling, and whole food nutrition, with the caveat it's gluten and dairy free for the first 6 weeks, unless the patient actually has gluten and dairy sensitivities, and they continue to be gluten and dairy free. So step by step. So the intermittent fasting, I try to get patients to at least do 12 hours, aiming towards 14 to 16 hours. Again, this is why they see me in combination with the coach, because it's personalized. Not everyone benefits from intermittent fasting. If somebody has really bad sleep dysregulation, stress, imbalanced cortisol level leading to adrenal dysfunction, intermittent fasting may not be the best thing for them. So we kind of slow down in that route. Intermittent fasting, actually, there's some studies that it helps promote bone remodeling, again, promoting the osteoblasts and decreasing the osteoclast activity, as well as helping the body utilize the fat stores more efficiently.
Yeah, can we just talk about this for 1 second? Because most people, I can't even tell you on my Q&As I have in my community and different things, I get this question all the time about intermittent fasting. Oh, that can't possibly be good for the bones because we're not going to get all the nutrition. And if we're taking out a meal, people, I get this all the time. So I mean, you said that the research, but do you want to add anything more to that?
Yeah, so it's not about calorie restriction. That's the other thing about this program. No one feels hungry on it. You get adequate calorie amount per day. And then within the calorie amount, it's the macro split. That's where the carb cycling comes in. So this is not a keto diet. There are 2 days in the program where they're low carb days, but we're not talking about 10 grams a day. We're maybe talking about 50, even 60 grams a day. Actually, I'm sorry, that was the fat content. I take that back. It could be like 150 grams of carbs a day. Anyway, so there's carb cycling where the carb amount changes 2 days out of the 7 days, while the protein and the protein stays the same, and same thing with the fat. The fat goes up on the low carb day and then goes down on the regular carb day. And the carb cycling is what really promotes the weight loss and helps support the healthier insulin and leptin levels and hormone levels. And that's kind of the big success or the key piece I've seen versus other programs. This one, there's no gimmicks. You're eating real food, but you're getting guidance on how to eat that real food and in what amounts and when. It's very specific.
I love that because it's a lifestyle. And do people stay on this program, or you have then, once they lose the weight, is there the same program, or it becomes a little different?
It becomes a maintenance, and some will stay, kind of incorporate the principles of it for the rest of their lives. Other people, we learn, they didn't get to their weight loss goals. It didn't work for them. And this is what I was referring to originally. This is where the GLPs come in. They need that extra assistance. They need that extra tool. So again, still focusing on protein, fiber, healthy carbs, but with the little boost of the GLPs to work in the background of decreasing the inflammation. Not even so much the appetite suppression is because the GLPs also decrease inflammation and promote anti-inflammatory signaling that is not even really talked about in the marketing of these medications.
Hey, Margie here. Posture is so important for our bones, overall health, and happiness. And unfortunately, it's something that's often overlooked. As a physical therapist for over 40 years, I've seen that when people do certain daily posture exercises, it's a game changer. So I created 7 short videos that demonstrate the exercises I have found most effective. And you can access these free videos by going to tinyurl, so tinyurl.com/mybetterposture, or just click the link in the show notes. And then you can start incorporating these easy exercises into your life, and before you know it, you'll start seeing improvements in your posture. So now let's get back to the show. So when someone's on it, then what have you seen in terms of how long? Have you also seen that while they're on this, they're doing all your other wonderful steps and reducing inflammation? Then do you see a lot of times, or what do you see? Are they able to come off this? What are you?
So I have a small sample size, and so far the ones that I've been working with have the one patient at the success story. She does not want to come off it, and we are going to talk about the pros and cons and the lifetime risk. We don't even know what the lifetime risk is. But for the other patients who want to come off of it, you have to titrate slowly and you have to give them time. And maybe you're going to cycle it, right? Maybe then you do like a little bit, every 3 months, they need a little reset with a little dosing for a couple months. So it could be an on and off thing. I don't have a crystal ball and I don't know how each patient responds, but I'm willing to work with each patient individually and help them with the challenges that they encounter with using the GLP. So I'm open to anything, helping them get off, or if they want to stay on it, just staying on it the right way.
Now, that's what I love about your approach. It's safe because you're monitoring.
Yes.
You're seeing all the other testing for their health and other, you're looking at all variables, what's going on. So it's a safe. Do you see a lot of times that people are not using these safely? Do you hear all sorts of stories?
Yes, I hear all sorts of stories, especially stories in the news, especially the fear factor of the side effects, which are real. They're not, it's, I don't want to discount them. The common ones are nausea, heartburn, either constipation or diarrhea, to the more of the quote severe or problematic ones is the pancreatitis or developing gallstones and gallbladder inflammation leading to needing to get your gallbladder out. Yes, those are real and they can happen, but I strongly feel that if we create the right context, the right environment, and set up the patient for success, meaning decrease their inflammation, make sure that they're eating properly before we start them on this medication, that they've already started an exercise program, they're meeting their water goals, they're addressing their mental well-being. I strongly feel that those side effects can be mitigated, and they can also further be mitigated by adjusting the dose. And unfortunately, with the conventional ones on the market, you cannot dose adjust because they come in pens with a preset dose. But if we're prescribing the ones from the compounding pharmacy, the world's your oyster. I can prescribe any dose I want, and we can go super low and slow and really help prevent those side effects.
And is that what you typically do? Use the compounding pharmacy versus?
So I do what is best for the patient. I'm very cost conscious when it comes to helping and working with patients. I understand that functional integrative medicine is a luxury sometimes and it's expensive. So I try to make it as affordable as possible. And some patients have phenomenal insurance, and we know that it's going to be covered if I prescribe through the conventional route. And so we'll do that and we'll try and see how it goes. And if they do experience the side effects, I coach them, I counsel them, I help mitigate them, whether it's with prescription medications or something as natural as ginger tabs, or, do your injection at night. The injection is once a week. So do your injection at night. So that way you have the overnight to kind of get into your system. You may still have the side effects, but it's not going to be as profound as doing the injection first thing in the morning. Like little tips like that.
And I think what you said earlier, addressing the gut, how backwards it sounds to me with these people having issues with their gallbladder and they're having all these issues. Perhaps they haven't addressed the gut first and they just went right on the medication. So I think.
Yes. And conventional counseling actually even tells when, because I have worked in conventional setting, prescribing these medications. It was, we're told, the patients that are predisposed to heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, IBS are more likely to have side effects. Obviously, that makes total sense. So let's take a step back. Let's do a gut reset. Let's figure out, are you digesting your carbs, proteins, and fats properly? Do you have dysbiosis? Do you have leaky gut? Do you have H. pylori? What's going on before we even talk about GLPs?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I also like the fact that you work with patients with osteoporosis. So if someone has osteoporosis and they have that little extra fat, you can kill two birds at one stone.
Yes. And osteoporosis and gut is linked, right? If there's inflammation in the gut, inflammation is inflammation. It's not going to promote bone health. So we still have to address the gut in our women who are struggling with osteoporosis or who really want to have healthy bones as they age.
Absolutely. No, I just think this is so wonderful. And just I don't think people know, but I have an interesting question. I don't know the answer to this either because I never asked you this. How did you get into this integrative medicine? What's your path? I always find it fascinating to hear the backstory, how you that you mix both worlds, which I love.
Yeah. So my uncle encouraged me to go to medical school. I actually did not want to go to medical school because I didn't feel like I would fit in because I was always into, what are other options besides pharmaceuticals? That's how I grew up. I grew up in a very holistic, quote, natural household where my grandma had a remedy for everything that did not necessarily include running to the doctor and getting a prescription. And my uncle said, go to medical school, learn the conventional medicine, and then you can do whatever you like. You can learn about other things and practice medicine the way you want to practice. And he was 100% right. And I thank him for that. I am very grateful for my conventional medical education. I think it's the foundation which makes me a great integrative and functional medicine physician, because I can recognize when we do need to use conventional medicine, when we do need prescriptions, or when I'm seeing a patient for the first time and they have not received a conventional GI workup and they have red flag symptoms or signs, I will say, no, we're not going to do these supplements. I need you to see a gastroenterologist for an endoscopy or a colonoscopy or something to make sure that you don't have cancer or some sort of, diagnosed inflammatory bowel disease. Once we get a diagnosis and we know what's wrong, or let's say we don't get a diagnosis, but you've done the workup, then that's where I come in. Then I can help figure out maybe what the root cause is or where things went wrong to get you back on track. But conventional medicine still has a really important place in work I do and in my background of how I became the doctor that I am today.
That's lucky you to grow up in a family like that recognized that's pretty amazing. We lived in the doctor. We lived in the doctor.
Yes. I did, Margie, forget to mention as part of the program, the weight loss program that I recommend, is the other key component is, of course, exercise. So what I love about this program, it has targeted exercises or targeted daily routines, and it's different every day. 2 days are focused on high intensity, and the other 3 days are focused on resistance training. So they hit all parts of the body. It's very thoughtful, methodical, and it meets the person, client, patient, wherever they are. So they have modifications. You don't need to be a gym rat to do this. You have no experience with exercise and still start and slowly build up and benefit. So it incorporates all the things a woman would need for the resistance portion of that, when I mentioned the 45 minutes of moderate exercise 5 days a week. And the best thing is most of the exercise routines are about 30 minutes. So there's really, it's hard to say I don't have time. It's really making that a priority and finding the internal motivation to show up and do the exercise piece of it too.
Yeah, how great is that? That you're helping your weight, you're helping your blood sugar, your insulin levels, you're helping everything, and you're helping your bones. So it's such a win.
Yeah.
And longevity. I mean, exercise improves everything. That's why I'm always so excited when people, when they get osteoporosis, they're like, oh gosh, now I have to exercise. It's not really an option because they feel it was sort of the catalyst to make them exercise, but then they become strong, empowered, and
Yes.
life changes. And so what about stress and cortisol? Is that part of the program at all?
Yes. So there's a lot of online support, and with the coach, there's support, but I also provide a lot of support with stress management. What my patients know, all I say is, I need you to do something for 3 to 5 minutes every single day that gets you out of the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic mode. I don't care what it is. It could be a walking meditation. It could be journaling. It could be a gratitude practice. It could be gargling to activate your vagus nerve in the morning. Just please do something consistently on a daily basis. And I give them a ton of resources, lots of options, handouts, links to apps, and really, it's up to them, right? They're their own boss and they're their own leaders. I just provide the guidance, but they do the heavy lifting and the hard work to meet their health goals.
But you think that's an important piece?
Oh, 100%. Yes. Because I also incorporate continuous glucose monitoring. So before we even do the GLPs, some patients need that education, or that it's quite eye-opening to see how the food they eat and when they eat it affects their sugar in real time. It's amazing. And they learn incredible insights about themselves. They learn, I just got into an argument with my boss, or I had a stressful meeting, and they're like, the sugar's climbing on the monitor, yet they haven't eaten anything. We know these things in theory, but actually seeing it on the monitor, it changes everything, right? It provides a different level of motivation and information to the patient to be like, okay, all right, I now know what to do.
I'm such a big fan of that. And I've done that probably 4 times now, because my blood sugar started creeping up. My A1C from 5.6 went to 5.7 to pre-diabetes. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I eat so healthy. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So it was a couple of things. It was too much fruit and not enough fiber. That was one. Each person has their own things that jack it up. But
sure.
After I do a morning practice in bed, and I would notice, honestly, just doing that morning practice of gratitude and the different things, that reduced it. Meditation, oh my gosh. After meditation and journaling, way down. After exercise, it was just so helpful that, I'm such a big believer, because you're right. When you see it, and it's so different for everybody, it's not that, yes, everybody will do or eat this food and it will increase it. It's so, that's what my husband did at the same time. And we were both very different in terms of what, it's just such a wonderful thing. I'm such a very big believer.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's so great. So tell me, how can people, people who are listening how do you work with people? Do you work with people online? The
Sure.
best thing is that you live right near me. That's what
I know. We're neighbors.
We're like 20 minutes away. So that's what's exciting. So anyone that lives around New Jersey can see you, because you're in Wayne. So why don't you just tell people
Yes. So
who was able to work with you
sure.
for osteoporosis? Because we were talking before that you do all the testing. So many doctors won't do the CTX or the P1NP, but you do all the amazing osteoporosis testing as well. So share who can work with you.
Yes, I actually have a said osteoporosis lab panel. So before we even go into the osteoporosis, when somebody comes to see me, we're going to do the baseline first. get everything squared away before we even delve into the osteoporosis piece, because it just does not make sense to do it the other way around. But I have a practice in New Jersey. I have an office in Wayne, New Jersey, and I see patients either in person or virtually. I could see patients who are in New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, and Florida. Those are the states I'm licensed in. I feel very comfortable with working with patients with osteoporosis, and I welcome anyone that wants to come see me to visit my website and call, and you can book a discovery call either online or speak directly to my incredible assistant, Maria, who will help answer any questions. And if after the call, you're still not sure if you want to work with me, I often will hop on a free call with potential patients to answer any other questions that they have, just so that way people feel comfortable working with me, because it is a huge commitment, both time and financially. And I want to make sure that I'm comfortable as much as you are comfortable, that it's a therapeutic relationship.
Yeah, I love that. I know now that I think I've told everybody, I've been going to the Sonera strength training program myself. So I met one of your patients there, and she just couldn't say enough wonderful things about how she's, really improved her health. And, and you work with them. I think that's so beautiful. You want them to be as educated as they can. So you teach them, but you're there by their side, and the other practitioners, if they need anybody else, you have coaches. So I think.
Yes. And I meet them where they are. Not everyone does what I think is best, and that's okay. So as long as they understand that they may not get the results that I think they would get if they did X, Y, and Z, there's no judgment, right? Sometimes we're not ready. And I embrace everyone as they are.
Yeah, no, that's great. So just tell everyone the website in case they're...
Sure. It's interbalanceMedicine.org. www.interbalanceMedicine.org.
That's easy enough. I like that.
Yes.
I like that inner balance. That sort of says it all, right? When you do all these things, you have inner balance, and then you can. And
they get me and Maria and I. We're the team. That's it. So any questions, it's either Maria is answering them or I'm answering them. It's a small, very personalized practice, and I that's what I take pride in, is really making it not a cookie cutter protocol based practice. Everyone gets something different from me.
Oh, I love that. So let's just, for the people who are listening, who maybe just are a little bit overweight, a few things, what would you say if you wanted to sum it up for those people who just need, where would you start? If you wanted to give 3 things, let's say, that for people who just want to lose that little bit of maybe that the roll, or, people, what would be your first 3 things that they could do?
I think number 1 is hydration, and that's where I struggle myself the most too. I notice the days that I do not meet my water intake, and I try, even though you're supposed to have half of your body in water ounces per day, sometimes it's too much, right? If somebody's really overweight, that's a lot of water, and people may feel sick. And they also can't start from like 0 to, let's say, 90 ounces in one day, right? They have to work up to getting even to 60. So figuring out kind of your water intake and trying to meet that goal on a daily basis will help kind of blunt the intense cravings or intense like hunger pains that we often have. Because what I've also learned in my health journey is sometimes hunger is actually thirst. So taking a pause, getting a glass of water and figuring out, okay, am I hungry or am I thirsty? So that's kind of one, is the hydration piece. The second is protein. I know myself, if I'm like slacking and just having salads or lots of fruit or like pastas, it's going to start. Like I can feel it. My clothes are going to start feeling tighter. But if I'm really focusing, like every meal, everything I eat has a protein: hard-boiled egg, grilled chicken, thighs, salmon, grass-fed beef, steak, whatever, something that's with every meal, you have a solid piece of protein, at least like 20 to 30 grams. That's also going to help you feel satiated, and pairing that with a healthy fat and not a simple carb. So like a protein, a healthy fat, avocado or oil, and a carb like a salad, right? Not necessarily a white potato, or even you could have like a quarter of a sweet potato. That's still okay. So kind of the macronutrient content is second. And third, I would say, is sleep. We didn't really talk about sleep, but in my practice, sleep trumps everything. So if somebody has all these like osteoporosis, perimenopausal, menopausal symptoms, gut issues, and they're not sleeping, we start with the sleep. I mean, we do things simultaneously, but I really emphasize to them, okay, what do we need to do to get you sleeping, and not only sleeping, but increase the quality of your sleep so you're getting restorative sleep. If you're not sleeping well, you're going to have those sugar and carb cravings. You're going to have these crashes. You're not going to be motivated to make healthy choices, let alone have energy to exercise.
Oh, I love this. Well, we could go on and on. You're such a wealth of knowledge. I'm so glad we met. We just sort of...
Yes. Thank you so much, Margie, for inviting me and allowing me the opportunity to speak with you.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure, and I look forward to keeping in touch. And just thank you so much for joining me and sharing all of this that I know is going to really make a big difference for people. And the fact that we can lose that excess weight as well as improve so many other health conditions while improving our bone health and not sacrifice, I think is a win-win.
Yes.
Thank you for really sharing all this great information with all of us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Dr. Weil as much as I did, and now have a better understanding of how you can lose weight while at the same time improving your health, improving your bones, and how you can use the GLP-1 medications safely without suffering the loss of bone and muscle. All the links and the way to connect to Dr. Weil will be in the show notes, and make sure to download my handout on how to improve your posture in 2 weeks. It's full of some great exercises and things you can put into your life and try it, because I guarantee 2 weeks later, you'll be feeling a little looser and your posture will have improved. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.